Tonight, we confront a threat that echoes the haunting memories of Chernobyl and Fukushima, two of the most infamous nuclear disasters in history. But this is no history lesson. This is a current and escalating crisis that demands our immediate attention. Right now, the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, Europe's largest and a critical energy hub, sits precariously at the center of a volatile war zone. Russian forces seized it early in their invasion, transforming what was once a symbol of energy and progress into a looming source of dread and uncertainty. 6 nuclear reactors now operate under the ominous shadow of military conflict, each one a potential flashpoint for disaster. The risk of a catastrophic accident is not just theoretical, it is real and immediate, threatening the lives of millions across the continent. Never before in history has an active nuclear plant been occupied by hostile forces, with civilian staff working under such extreme duress. Ukrainian workers are valiantly keeping the reactors stable, but the plant remains on the front lines with the terrifying sound of shelling a constant threat. The infrastructure that ensures safety is now a target, making the possibility of disaster a daily reality. A major radioactive release wouldn't stop at Ukraine's borders. It would sweep across Europe, affecting countless lives and ecosystems. The consequences would be dire, poisoning land, water, and lives for generations, leaving a legacy of devastation. The IAEA has urgently called for a demilitarized zone around the plant, but as fighting continues, the risk only grows more acute. Russia's actions have effectively weaponized civilian nuclear infrastructure, holding an entire continent hostage to their military ambitions. The plant's safety systems are being pushed to their limits, with staff working tirelessly to prevent catastrophe. This is not just Ukraine's problem, it's a European crisis, one that demands a unified and immediate response. The world is teetering on a nuclear precipice, and the stakes could not be higher. The question isn't if disaster could happen, but whether we're doing enough to prevent it from becoming a reality. The clock is ticking, and the world cannot afford to look away. We must act now to avert a catastrophe that could reshape the future of Europe and beyond. When we think of threats to the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, our minds might jump to the devastation of a missile strike. But in reality, the most immediate and pressing danger isn't an explosion or direct attack. It's the simple yet catastrophic loss of external power. Nuclear power plants, by their very design, require a constant and uninterrupted supply of electricity to keep their reactors cool and stable. This need persists even when the reactors are shut down, because the radioactive fuel inside continues to generate intense heat. If the cooling systems fail, the fuel rods inside the reactor can quickly overheat. Without proper cooling, these rods can reach temperatures high enough to melt, leading to a catastrophic meltdown and the potential release of dangerous radiation. In recent months, shelling and ongoing conflict have repeatedly severed Zaporizhzhia from Ukraine's main power grid. Each time this happens, the plant is forced to rely on its emergency diesel generators to keep the cooling systems running. These diesel generators are designed as a last resort, a temporary backup, not a permanent solution. They are not built for continuous long-term operation and are themselves vulnerable to mechanical failure, fuel shortages, or even direct attack. Every time the external power is cut, the risk of disaster increases. Each blackout brings the plant one step closer to a potential catastrophe, raising the stakes for everyone involved. Ukrainian officials have repeatedly warned that the presence of military equipment and personnel near these critical systems only heightens the danger. The risk of accidental damage or targeted attacks grows with every escalation. The plant has already been forced to operate in what's known as island mode, completely cut off from the grid, running on its own limited resources. It has even endured total blackouts, relying solely on the diesel generators to prevent disaster. During these emergencies, every minute counts. Workers must scramble to monitor fuel levels, refuel generators, and restore power before the diesel runs out. It's a race against time, with the safety of millions hanging in the balance. The dedicated staff at Zaporizhzhia are performing near miracles under unimaginable stress and constant threat. But even their heroic efforts have limits. This situation cannot go on forever. The reality is stark. The current situation is unsustainable. It's like a ticking clock, counting down with no clear solution in sight, and every second brings us closer to a potential disaster. The world is now just one misstep, one power cut, away from a nuclear crisis that could have devastating consequences for Ukraine, Europe, and beyond. The danger at Zaporizhzhia mirrors the Fukushima disaster. In 2011, a tsunami knocked out both external and backup power at Fukushima, leading to reactor meltdowns. The same sequence, loss of power, failed cooling, overheating, hydrogen explosions, could unfold in Ukraine. But this time it's not nature, it's war. At Fukushima, international teams rush to help. In a war zone, that's nearly impossible. The occupying force creates the risk and blocks the solution. Experts warn, a nuclear plant must be constantly managed, especially cooling. Lose that, and you're on the path to disaster. Fukushima showed us the consequences of a blackout. Russia's actions are creating those conditions again, this time by choice. Russia's occupation of Zaporizhzhia is about more than just gaining a military advantage. It's a calculated move to seize control over a critical source of energy. By holding the largest nuclear power plant in Europe, Russia is not only asserting its dominance on the battlefield, but also tightening its grip on Ukraine's future. Before the war, this single plant supplied a fifth of all electricity used in Ukraine, powering homes, hospitals, and industries across the nation. Its importance to the country's infrastructure cannot be overstated. By seizing Zaporizhzhia, Russia has crippled Ukraine's national grid, plunging millions into uncertainty. The Kremlin's goal is to redirect this vital power to territories under its control, and potentially even into Russia itself, further weakening Ukraine's sovereignty. Russian nuclear specialists are now overseeing a dangerous and complex transition, working to connect the plant to Russia's own grid. This is more than just a technical maneuver. It's a form of economic annexation, a way to steal Ukraine's energy and use it to fuel the ongoing occupation. By manipulating the plant's output, Russia is effectively siphoning off Ukraine's resources, turning them into tools of control and leverage. The technical process itself is fraught with risk. Any mistake or miscalculation could trigger a catastrophic meltdown, endangering not just Ukraine but the entire region. It's as if Russia is performing open-heart surgery on a live nuclear plant, all while bombs fall and gunfire echoes outside. A perilous gamble in the midst of war. If Moscow succeeds, it will gain a powerful tool: the ability to reward allies or punish adversaries by controlling the flow of electricity, holding entire regions hostage to its will. This act could redraw Europe's energy map by force, shifting the balance of power and deepening the continent's energy crisis. This is energy weaponized at its most extreme, a chilling demonstration of how infrastructure can become a tool of war. In the end, control of Zaporizhzhia is about power, both literal electricity and the geopolitical power to shape the fate of nations. Ukraine faces an agonizing dilemma. Retaking Zaporizhzhia is vital, but a direct assault risks nuclear disaster. Ukrainian forces exercise restraint, avoiding strikes that could endanger the plant. President Zelensky insists, "We survived Chernobyl. We won't risk another catastrophe." Russia exploits this, using the plant as a nuclear shield, stationing troops and weapons inside. This turns a civilian facility into a military fortress, violating international norms. The result, a tense standoff, with Ukraine probing Russian positions but avoiding escalation. Russian troops inside increase stress and risk for Ukrainian operators. This fragile balance can't last forever. Restraint prevents disaster but prolongs the occupation and danger. Russia's occupation is matched by a relentless information war. Moscow blames Ukraine for any damage, accusing them of nuclear terrorism. Russian media and diplomats push this narrative, distorting reality and sowing confusion. Reports of intimidation and abuse of Ukrainian staff are denied, replaced with claims of peaceful cooperation. The goal: normalize occupation and deflect blame. This disinformation erodes trust and blocks real solutions. The lies are as dangerous as the shells. The fight for Zaporizhzhia is about more than infrastructure. For Ukraine, losing the plant is a blow to energy, economy, and sovereignty. For Europe, a nuclear accident here could dwarf Chernobyl, contaminating land and water, displacing millions. Russia's actions set a terrifying precedent: nuclear plants as tools of war. This undermines decades of nuclear safety norms and global security. If the world allows this, what stops others from doing the same? The principle that nuclear facilities are off-limits in war is at stake. Russia has shattered that consensus. The international community faces a test of resolve. The stakes could not be higher. We stand at a crossroads. The risk of nuclear disaster at Zaporizhzhia is real and urgent. The world cannot rely on luck or look away. Immediate demilitarization and return of the plant to Ukrainian control is essential. International pressure must be unified and relentless. Attacks on nuclear facilities must be a red line with real consequences. Russia's disinformation must be exposed and countered. IAEA inspectors need full, continuous access. The world must act now, before luck runs out. Preventing disaster is a collective responsibility we cannot ignore.